The distress signal. The command deck of the EDF Valiant hummed with activity as Captain Alina Reyes studied the pulsing red alert on her holographic display. At 42, with steel-gray eyes and a reputation for calculated risk-taking, Reyes had seen humanity's expansion into the stars over her 20-year career. But this was different. "Confirm that signal, Lieutenant Parker," she ordered, her voice steady despite the tension building in her chest. Parker, a young communications specialist with quick fingers and quicker eyes, worked his console with practiced precision. "Confirmed, Captain. It's broadcasting on all emergency frequencies. Definitely not human in origin, but the distress pattern is universal." Reyes crossed the deck, her footsteps barely audible against the background noise of Earth's most advanced battleship. 5 years since humanity had been reluctantly admitted to the Galactic Alliance, and this was the first alien distress call ever directed toward Earth. "Play it," she commanded. The alien message filled the command deck, a haunting series of melodic tones that the ship's translation matrix struggled to convert. When it finally did, the voice was thin and desperate. "To any species who can hear us, the Malorian people face extinction. The Voxeri collective attacks without warning or mercy. Our defenses have fallen. Our cities burn. The Alliance refuses our pleas. If compassion exists among the stars, help us." Coordinates followed, then silence. Commander Hiroshi Tanaka, Reyes' second-in-command and tactical officer, frowned. "The Malorians? They're astronomers and artists, not warriors." "And the Voxeri?" Reyes asked, though she suspected the answer. "Resource hunters," Tanaka replied. "They strip worlds of valuable minerals and leave ecological disasters behind. The Alliance tolerates them because several council members benefit from their trade agreements." Reyes studied the star map as it highlighted the location. 3 weeks at maximum burn to reach Malorian space. "Captain," Tanaka said hesitantly, "the Alliance has explicitly warned Earth not to engage in unilateral military actions. We're still on probation after the Proxima incident." Reyes understood his concern. Humanity's admission to the galactic community had been contentious from the start. Earth was classified as a death world by Alliance standards, a planet with higher gravity, more extreme weather, and a biological history that had forged humans into adaptable survivors. Most Alliance species had evolved on gentle worlds with stable climates and few predators. They found humans fascinating but frightening. "Put me through to Admiral Chen at Earth Command," Reyes said. Minutes later, Admiral Chen's weathered face appeared on the main screen. He listened without interruption as Reyes played the Malorian distress call and outlined her recommendation. "The political fallout could be significant," Chen warned. "The Alliance Council has made it clear they don't trust humans with our aggressive tendencies." "With respect, Admiral," Reyes replied. "If we ignore this, what was the point of reaching the stars? To sit quietly while innocent species are exterminated." Chen was silent for a long moment. Finally, he nodded. "Battlegroup Sentinel is yours, Captain. The Valiant, plus the cruisers Defiant and Resolute. Your orders are to assess the situation and evacuate Malorian survivors if possible. Defensive actions only. I repeat, defensive only." "Understood, Admiral." After the transmission ended, Tanaka approached. "They're afraid of us," he said quietly. "The Alliance. They think we're dangerous because we evolved on a harsh world." Reyes' lips curved in a grim smile. "Let's hope the Voxeri are afraid of us too, Commander." Within 6 hours, Battlegroup Sentinel departed Earth orbit. 3 of humanity's most advanced warships, carrying 2,000 crew members and a battalion of Marines, accelerated toward the outer reaches of human space and beyond. During the journey, Reyes gathered every scrap of information about both the Malorians and the Voxeri. The Malorians were a species of slender, bioluminescent beings who had evolved on a low-gravity world with thick atmosphere. Their bodies contained specialized organs that absorbed stellar radiation, making them especially vulnerable to certain types of weapons. Their technology focused on astronomy, art, and environmental adaptation rather than warfare. The Voxeri were the opposite. Evolved on a resource-poor world, they had developed into nomadic raiders, stripping planets of valuable elements and moving on. Their society prized efficiency and resource acquisition above all else. How does the Alliance justify allowing this? Lieutenant Parker asked during a briefing. Major Sarah Costa, commander of the Marine Battalion, snorted. Politics. The Voxeri provide rare minerals to certain Alliance members at discounted rates. Look the other way. Get cheap resources. The Alliance fears conflict, Rise added. Most member species evolved without the constant competition and predation that shaped Earth. War is theoretical to them, not part of their evolutionary heritage. So they'll sacrifice the Malorians rather than risk wider conflict, Tanaka concluded. Which is why we're going instead, Rise said firmly. On the 22nd day of their journey, Battlegroup Sentinel dropped out of FTL at the edge of the Malorian system. Sensors immediately detected the aftermath of violence. Debris fields where stations had once orbited, radiation signatures from weapons discharge, and distress beacons broadcasting weekly from the surface of the third planet. Life signs, Rise demanded. Scattered groups on the surface, the sensor officer reported. Environmental contamination is severe, radiation levels that would be fatal to Malorians. Any Voxeri presence? Negative, Captain. They appear to have moved on after their attack. Rise nodded grimly. Prepare landing parties with full hazard gear. Medical teams on priority shuttle deployment. Major Costa stepped forward. My Marines will establish a security perimeter. The radiation levels are within human tolerance, the science officer noted. Uncomfortable, but not immediately dangerous to our physiology. Rise nodded. That was the advantage, and burden, of evolving on Earth. Human bodies could endure conditions that would kill most Alliance species. It was part of why they were feared. The landing parties descended to what had once been the Malorian capital city. Now it was a landscape of crumbled crystal spires and smoldering craters. The air was thick with dust and radiation that made Geiger counters click rapidly. Lieutenant Commander Aisha Raman, the group's xenobiologist, led them toward the strongest life sign readings. This way, she called, gesturing toward what appeared to be a collapsed underground transit station. They found the survivors huddled in the reinforced maintenance tunnels beneath the city, perhaps 200 Malorians, their normally luminescent skin dim with illness and fear. When the humans appeared in their protective suits, the aliens retreated further into the shadows. Raman removed her helmet, a calculated risk given the radiation levels. We received your distress call, she said gently, as the translation software converted her words. We're from Earth. One Malorian moved forward cautiously, taller than the others with intricate patterns flowing across its skin. Humans, its translator rendered in a musical voice tinged with disbelief. The Alliance said no one would come. We're here now, Raman replied. I'm Lieutenant Commander Raman. We have medical teams and supplies. I am Elorai, first scholar of Meloria. My people are dying from the Voxeri's radiation weapons. As Earth's medical teams began treating the Malorians, Rise received the full story from Elorai. The Voxeri had attacked without warning, targeting Malorian worlds for their unusual mineral formations and rare elements. When the Malorians had appealed to the Alliance for protection, they were offered only symbolic condemnation of the Voxeri, no military assistance. The Alliance fears the Voxeri's economic retaliation, Elorai explained, and they fear conflict itself. How many of your people survive? Rise asked. Perhaps 30,000 scattered across our colonies. This was our scientific outpost. Most of our researchers died in the first attack. Elorai's luminescence dimmed further. Our homeworld, Meloria Prime, houses most of our remaining population. But our sensor arrays detected Voxeri ships heading there 3 days ago. Rise felt her blood run cold. 3 days. How long until they arrive? 2 days at most, Elorai answered. When they finish there, the Malorian people will cease to exist. Reyes activated her comm. Tanaka, prepare the battle group for immediate departure to Meloria Prime. Maximum burn. As the evacuation of survivors continued, a Marine sergeant approached Reyes. Captain, we've captured intact Voxeri technology, including weapons and a damaged scout ship. Have it analyzed immediately, Reyes ordered. I want to know their weaknesses before we engage. On the shuttle returning to the Valiant, Reyes sat across from Ellerai, who watched in fascination as a human technician casually handled materials that would kill a Malorian. Your bodies, Ellerai observed, they withstand conditions that would destroy mine. Earth is a challenging world, Reyes explained. High gravity, extreme weather, natural radiation, predators, diseases. We evolved to survive them all. The Alliance fears you because of this, Ellerai said. They call you Deathworlders in private sessions. Reyes smiled thinly. I know, but you came when they would not. Ellerai's skin pulsed with blue light, a sign of emotion. Why risk yourselves for us? Reyes considered the question carefully. On Earth, we have a concept that strength creates responsibility, not privilege. The strong protect the vulnerable. It's how communities survive. As the shuttle docked with the Valiant, Reyes received the preliminary analysis of the Voxeri technology. What she saw hardened her resolve. They're using radiation as a terror weapon, she told her command staff. Their actual military technology is less advanced than ours. They've specialized in weapons that target specific biological vulnerabilities in their victims. Major Costa nodded. Weapons designed to kill Malorians efficiently without damaging the resources they want to extract. And against humans? Tanaka asked. The science officer displayed the analysis. Their radiation weapons will make us sick eventually, but not incapacitate us immediately. Their armor is designed to resist energy weapons, not kinetic impacts. Their ships prioritize cargo capacity over defensive capabilities. Reyes studied the data, then looked at her officers. We reach Meloria Prime in 40 hours. By then, I want every Marine and crew member ready for combat against Voxeri forces. She turned to Ellerai, who had been permitted to observe the briefing. We will defend your homeworld, First Scholar. The Voxeri are about to learn what happens when they face Deathworlders. Deathworlders unleashed. The Valiant dropped out of FTL at the edge of the Meloria Prime system, sensors immediately detecting the Voxeri invasion fleet. 7 heavy mining ships converted to warships, surrounded by smaller combat vessels. They were already in orbit around the luminescent blue-green world, beginning their bombardment of the surface. They haven't seen us yet, Lieutenant Parker reported from the communication station. Their sensors are focused planet-side. Captain Reyes stood at the command console, surrounded by her senior officers. Then we have surprise on our side. Status of the Malorian planetary defenses. Minimal and failing, Commander Tanaka replied. They were never designed for full-scale warfare. Reyes nodded, then turned to Major Costa. Prepare your Marines for ground deployment. Priority is civilian protection. My people are ready, Costa answered, her face set in grim determination. The battalion had spent the journey studying Voxeri tactics and testing their vulnerabilities. Reyes addressed her bridge crew. This is not just about saving the Malorians. Today we show the galaxy what humanity stands for. Battle stations. Throughout the 3 human warships, klaxons sounded as crew members rushed to their positions. In the launch bays, Marines checked their weapons and armor one final time. Battle Group Formation Delta, Reyes ordered. Valiant will engage the command vessel. Defiant and resolute. Target their screening ships. Launch fighters on my mark. The human ships accelerated toward the unsuspecting Voxeri fleet, weapons powering up. They were outnumbered nearly 2 to 1, but Earth's technology, developed through centuries of internal conflict, was designed for combat effectiveness, not resource extraction. They've detected us, Parker announced. Voxeri ships breaking planetary bombardment, turning to engage. Now we see if their reputation is deserved, Rais said calmly. All ships, weapons-free. Launch fighters. The first exchange of fire illuminated the blackness of space. Voxeri radiation weapons splashed against the human shields, their effectiveness limited against technology designed to withstand the harsh solar emissions of Earth's system. In return, the human vessels fired precision kinetic projectiles and energy weapons that tore through the converted mining ships. 2 Voxeri vessels exploded in rapid succession, their hulls not designed for military engagement. The others began evasive maneuvers, clearly surprised by the effectiveness of the human attack. They're launching landing craft, Tanaka reported, trying to secure whatever resources they can before retreating. As expected, Rais nodded. Major Costa, you have clearance for ground deployment. Target those landing zones. In the launch bay, Costa addressed her Marines. Remember your training. The Voxeri expect easy victories against vulnerable species. They've never faced humans before. The Marine dropships streaked toward the surface of Meloria Prime, escorted by fighter craft. They landed near the capital city, where Voxeri forces were already moving through the streets, using radiation dispersal weapons to clear buildings of Melorian defenders. Sergeant Marcus Rodriguez led the first squad into contact with the enemy. The Voxeri, tall, gray-skinned beings in environmental suits, were methodically entering a large structure. That's their cultural repository, their Melorian guide explained. Our history and art. Rodriguez didn't hesitate. First platoon with me. Second, secure the perimeter. The Marines moved through the toxic haze left by Voxeri weapons, their enhanced filtration systems handling what would be lethal to Melorians. When they engaged the first group of Voxeri soldiers, the aliens responded with practiced confidence, deploying radiation grenades. To their visible surprise, their expressions visible through their transparent helmets, the humans kept advancing through the radiation. They really thought that would stop us, Private Chen remarked, firing a precise burst that dropped 2 Voxeri soldiers. The firefight was brief but intense. The Voxeri, faced with enemies who didn't collapse from their primary weapons, fell back in confusion, abandoning their positions in the repository. Similar scenes played out across the city as human Marines engaged Voxeri forces. On the outskirts, Lieutenant Sofia Diaz's platoon intercepted Voxeri troops attempting to round up Melorian civilians for labor details. They're taking hostages, Diaz reported, observing through her scope as Melorians were herded toward transport vessels. Not today, they're not, her platoon sergeant replied. The Marines executed a flawless pincer movement, cutting off the Voxeri from their transports. When the aliens attempted to use the civilians as shields, they discovered another aspect of human combat evolution, precision marksmanship honed through millennia of hunting and warfare. In orbit, the space battle reached its climax. 2 more Voxeri ships had been destroyed, another crippled. Captain Reyes observed the tactical display as the Voxeri commander attempted to regroup his scattered forces. They're preparing to retreat, Tanaka noted. Their command ship is signaling the ground forces to withdraw. Not with Melorian prisoners, Reyes said firmly. Target their engines but leave their communication systems intact. I want them to report exactly what happened here. The Valiant's main batteries fired, precision shots that disabled the Voxeri command ship without destroying it. Throughout the planet's surface, Voxeri ground forces found themselves cut off from orbital support. By nightfall, the remaining Voxeri troops had surrendered or been eliminated. Major Costa walked through a Melorian medical center where human doctors worked alongside local healers. Despite taking fire that would have killed most Alliance species, the Marines had suffered only moderate casualties. First combat between humans and the Voxeri, Costa said to Reyes as she joined her. What do you think they learned today? Reyes watched as news of the human victory spread across Melorian communication networks, bringing hope to a species that had known only defeat. They learned that the galaxy is more complex than they thought. 3 days later, Captain Reyes stood before the Galactic Alliance Council on their massive station at the heart of Allied space. The emergency session had been called specifically to address humanity's unauthorized military action. Representatives from 30 species sat in tiered seating, most watching Reyes with a mixture of concern and curiosity. At the center, the Alliance High Council, 5 ancient beings from the founding species, regarded her with obvious disapproval. Captain Elena Reyes, began Counselor Genta, a willowy being with translucent skin. You were aware that Alliance protocols prohibit unilateral military intervention without Council approval. I was, Reyes replied simply. Yet you committed Earth's forces to combat against the Voxeri Collective, risking a wider conflict. Reyes stepped forward. Counselor, we responded to a distress call that the Alliance ignored. The Malorians were facing extinction. Regrettable. Another counselor interjected, but the stability of interstellar relations must be preserved. The Voxeri have filed formal protests against Earth. A murmur ran through the chamber. Reyes waited for silence. With respect, she said, I would like to introduce First Scholar Elorai of Meloria. Elorai glided forward, skin glowing with vibrant patterns. Many counselors shifted uncomfortably. Few had actually met a Melorian in person. Honored Council, Elorai began. 3 weeks ago, you received our pleas for aid as the Voxeri systematically destroyed our worlds. You chose inaction. Your inaction would have resulted in our extinction. The chamber remained uncomfortably silent. The humans, Elorai continued, responded differently. They risked their lives to save people they had never met. Is this not the ideal the Alliance claims to uphold? From a middle tier, a reptilian representative rose. The humans are Deathworlders. Their biology is designed for violence in ways ours is not. We all know Earth's history of warfare. If we authorize human military action, what happens when the fighting is done? Will they leave as protectors or stay as conquerors? Reyes met the reptilian's gaze steadily. You fear us because we're different, she acknowledged. Because we can survive conditions that would kill most of you, but strength can protect as well as harm. She activated a holographic display showing human medics treating Melorian children, engineers rebuilding shelters, ships distributing supplies. We did not seek permission to fight, Reyes concluded. We sought to help those who could not help themselves. Judge us by our actions, not your fears. The debate raged for hours. Eventually, the High Council called for order. In light of the exceptional circumstances, Genta announced reluctantly, the Council will not censure Earth for its actions at Meloria Prime. Furthermore, we are establishing a committee to review our non-intervention policies in cases of planetary aggression. It wasn't a ringing endorsement, but it was progress. As the session adjourned, several representatives approached Reyes privately, expressing quiet gratitude for Earth's intervention. One, an ancient historian from a species that rarely engaged in council politics, stopped Reyes at the exit. Captain, the being said softly, the council fears change, but I have studied enough history to recognize its inevitability. Before humans reached the stars, the Alliance had become complacent, willing to sacrifice peripheral members for convenience. The historian's multifaceted eyes studied Reyes. Your people have reminded us of principles many have forgotten. Not all Deathworld adaptations are physical ones. 2 weeks later, Reyes stood on the bridge of the Valiant as it prepared to depart Melorian space. The planet below was still recovering, but with human assistance, the rebuilding was proceeding rapidly. Captain, Lieutenant Parker called out, incoming transmission from Earth Command. Admiral Chen's face appeared on the main screen. Congratulations, Captain. The diplomatic corps is still sorting through the aftermath of your adventure, but the results speak for themselves. Thank you, Admiral. The Melorians have formally requested an alliance with Earth, separate from their alliance membership. The Council is displeased, but can't object without appearing hypocritical. Chen smiled slightly. More interestingly, 3 other peripheral Alliance species have made similar overtures. And the Voxeri have withdrawn from Alliance space entirely. Apparently, they've decided that worlds protected by humans aren't worth the risk. After the transmission ended, Commander Tanaka joined Reyes at the viewport. Below, the luminescent cities of Meloria Prime glowed against the darkness. "They called us Deathworlders like it was an insult," Tanaka said quietly. "But I think they're beginning to understand." Reyes nodded. "Earth forged us through challenge, not comfort. We know that peace isn't the absence of struggle. It's the willingness to struggle for others." As the Valiant accelerated away from Meloria Prime, a formation of Melorian lightships escorted them to the jump point, their hulls pulsing with patterns of gratitude visible across the void. The Deathworlders had arrived on the galactic stage, not as conquerors, but as protectors, for species like the Melorians, that made all the difference.